Kanan messing with Nick's brother, but you don't know what the work is.
He is changing up, Rock. He ain't the same.
Kanan says you talk a lot.
Your stupid little brother went to scrap Mom's house.
Your brother need to make it right.
Enemies are dangerous, especially when they're family.
After Lou confessed to Shantel about what really happened with Scrappy, and with Kanan getting in business with Ronnie, the Thomas family are all over the place. They might be joined by name and blood, but each and every single member of this family seem like they're on different pages. Duke is conflicted about whether she wants to pursue her singing career or join the military and get out of Queens. Marvin's character has turned into more of a caring character, stuck in between his siblings. Kanan strayed away from his family and will now join Ronnie's crew. And with Lou, we all know where he is, what he's done, but also what he has to do. So this whole family is completely disjointed, which is just adding to their turmoil. Now adding Ronnie Mathis to the equation, who's going to start to poison Kanan's mind, they have a big problem. But we're going to run through all the clues, teasers, as well as the exclusive images in this preview for all things Raising Kanan, Season 3, Episode 7. Now the title for episode 7 is Where All Are Guilty, and the synopsis reads: Lou's drinking creates a problem for the whole family when Shantel goes looking for justice. Kanan assimilates into Ronnie's crew, and Rock formulates a new plan for Unique's former heroin operation. Now I think there's only one place to start, and that's with Lou's confession. At the end of episode 6, he stumbled over to Scrappy's mom's place and in a drunk state, told her how Scrappy's death wasn't a suicide. Now she was raging, and of course she was. Imagine losing your son knowing that the killer is still on the streets, and knowing that justice hasn't been served. So we're gonna see her come into the precinct to tell Howard she knows what happened to Scrappy. The problem that Shantel has is, Detective Howard is as dirty as they come. He's looking out for the Thomas family because he's also involved. So let's not forget, it was Howard's bad intel that resulted in Scrappy's death. Of course, that didn't mean Rock needed to pull the trigger. I think she should have done her homework. But Rock is lucky that Shantel is here speaking to Howard and nobody else. Although I am very intrigued to see whether Agent Tanner sees or comes across Shantel. Because if she ends up dead, which is looking likely, then I do think the spotlight could soon turn to Howard. Now with Shantel coming to the precinct, we're going to see Howard tell Rock, your stupid little brother went to Scrap's mom's house and then she came to the precinct, which will no doubt lead to this moment between Marvin and Lou. But I think we all know what needs to be done here. Lou says needs to be dealt with. The only question is, will Lou be able to get the job done, or will he fumble like we've seen him do before? Now something else which is worth bearing in mind is Marvin's face did show up on Agent Tanner's desk in episode 6. So I do wonder what Howard has in mind. Will he tell Rock, or will he keep this close to his chest for maybe a play that he could use later on to save his own back? So let's wait and see, because law enforcement aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Tanner wants someone to pay, whether it's Marvin or someone else. Now elsewhere with Lou, Joyce Thomas seems to be back looking for some cash, as if Lou didn't have enough troubles of his own. But I'm more interested in what she has to say. Whenever we do get these rare interactions with Joyce, it does give them an opportunity to talk about E-Train and a bit of history. So will Lou on this downward spiral very similar to his father? I do wonder if we will learn a bit more. Now over to business. Rock is going to be back in the game with her eyes set on Unique's heroin operation under Quan. We know that he made this business deal to run his operation out of Quan's cousin's Chinese restaurant, but Ronnie taking away Unique meant we never really got to see how he would have built his operation back up. However, we will be able to witness Rock do it. We've seen what she did with the Baisley and Jamaica houses, so let's see what she can do under Quan, where we will hear her say you've got the ball, but I've got the players. So let's see how Rock starts to build her empire back up, how she creates even more of a sophisticated business than before, but also how she deals with the competition of Ronnie and Kanan. Now speaking of Kanan, we're going to see him assimilate into Ronnie's crew, and it is going to be very interesting to see how Ronnie runs his operation compared to Rock, because you can guarantee it's going to be very different. We all know he's going to be using Kanan's courier system with his guys on the bikes, but what other safeguards is he going to put in place that keeps them away from the watchful eye of law enforcement? We also know he's going to come face to face with Famous, and I think he'll be having words with Paul as well, because he definitely doesn't like people who talk too much, and Paul does fall in that same category as Famous. Now with Famous, we've actually got him back in the apartment. I'm not too sure whether Famous will sneak in when Kanan's not there, and while he is, Ronnie and Kanan walk in, which is why Ronnie's reception is quite hostile. But we've got him with a gun in hand. Whether it's the same gun that he used to kill Freddy, I'm not too sure, but I don't think we saw him handing the piece back to Corinne either. So if it is the same piece, then he better get rid of that shit, and pretty quick. Now what else with Famous? Does Ronnie cut his water off, or will Kanan? Or will he finally catch a break? We've got him back at his mom's place, who seems like she may have had a change of heart and allowed Famous back home, and it is a good job. He needs to get out of this life he was living in this apartment. He needs to put distance between him and Kanan because of what he's into. and he just needs to keep his head down and focus on his music. Unfortunately, we also know he's created his track 411, where he opened up on the mic about killing Freddy. So at some stage very similar to Duke, I do expect his story to mirror hers, where they both find their music careers at crossroads. Now maybe to get out of the life and all the chaos in Queens, he could potentially leave and go to LA where his sister Jessica is. Maybe that presents an opportunity for Famous to get out of this life. And if that opportunity does come knocking, if I were in his shoes, I would definitely take it. But let's see. It is going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds with Famous. Now elsewhere with Kanan, we've also got him at Duke's studio where she rehearses with Crystal and Aisha. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kanan is actually the downfall of this girl's group. We know that Duke and Kanan are going to have a bit of a standoff in what used to be Famous's crib. But if Kanan starts to mess with Crystal, things could start to get very ugly for the girls' group. Because we all know Duke and Crystal, they ain't exactly best friends. Now add Aisha into the mix, who Kanan is also getting friendly with. Yeah, I definitely think Kanan will have a hand in breaking these girls apart, which could also force Duke into going down the military route. We've got her in front of the army representative, so she's definitely keeping her options open. If it doesn't work out with the music, which we all know it won't, the military could very well be a route she goes down for a brief period. Now we're also going to see Duke telling Rock what Kanan's up to and who with, which in my opinion could put Duke in danger, although she is very much capable of handling herself. But the world that Kanan's entering isn't something that Duke fucks with, but if Rock asks her to keep tabs on him, then she will find herself in this world, which again, could give her even more of a reason to go down this military option. Now I think Marvin's transformation has pretty much cemented him as arguably the fan favourite, and he is going to be at it again. Gerald looks like he's seen better days, which means he may actually be back on the drugs or alcohol, and if he is, then I would probably say he may not be undercover, and he's just a journalist that will probably write a story that fucks with Duke and Marvin. There's this whole question of around how did Marvin's picture end up on Agent Tanner's desk? Was it Gerald who gave up the information to Tanner after hearing it at the park bench? But judging by these images where he looks pretty fucked up, I think he's probably just an addict who works as a journalist. Now what Marvin needs to be very careful of is not spilling too much information. When you get into situations like this where he's going to be there for Gerald, and where he opens up about his stories and troubles, you can see Marvin doing the same. But I think we all know they're building this up like they're building everything else up, only for it to end in some real heartbreak. Elsewhere we have Panessa, who doesn't look too happy with Neek no longer in the picture, and I do wonder which direction they take a storyline. Will she go down the same route as Shantel and snitch, because then that's a big problem for both her and Jerome. Will she leave town or will she continue to seek answers? Let's wait and see, because Panessa still seems to be in the picture. But that's a preview of the exclusive images and a few teasers that we've seen before season 3. And I'm expecting episode 7 to be very similar to episode 6, a bit of a build up, but it doesn't mean it won't be explosive and intense. The other day I put a post up on X where I said the pacing is perfect for Raising Kanan. So I do think we are going to be in for another good one, and then we'll know what happens when we reach 8, 9 and 10. So with that being said, drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section for episode 7, and I'll be back as usual with my breakdown around the same time. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.